Hi, my name is Trainmaster04 and thank you very much for clicking on this video. And as you can see on your screen, it has finally arrived. The next version of the Lionel catalog for the year 2020. Now, this video really is just me kind of briefly going over it, giving my insights, and also just a bit of talking about trains on the products that are inside the catalog. So to start off, let me actually just start off with the cover. Now, some of the hints and sneak peeks that Ryan did about, earlier this week for the LCCA, he basically showed the cover as well in a few of the more higher end legacy locomotives and one of two of the sets, if I remember correctly. And one of the disclaimers for the cover was of who this boy is. Now, I'll get back to the cover and explain how this random 1950s photo, or 1940s, yeah, I believe 1940s, because that looks like a turbine, a Pennsy turbine from the post-war era. But anyway, let's just dive right on in. So, flipping the page, first off, table of contents, and then, like the previous catalog, Lionel put in the history of Lionel's history starting in 1900 to 2000 and 2020, and then onto O-scale trains. Now, the locomotive you see in front of you is actually one of the new locomotives in the catalog, and I'll briefly show you it later on. So, next page, legacy steam features. Now, I do actually want to take a minute on this page because there's some new updates that Lionel actually has done to their legacy locomotives and legacy steam locomotives. Now, Ryan, in the same video as I was discussing earlier, they actually upgraded the legacy boards. Hooray! So, if you remember correctly, I imagine you would, a few years back, Lionel came out with the Bluetooth technology to where you'd be able to use a Bluetooth eligible smart device and use their Bluetooth app to then control any of the Line Chief Plus 2.0, or even up to legacy locomotives. And that was a great breakthrough. But the only problem was that was another board Lionel had to put into their locomotives in order for it to be eligible to have that feature. So, instead, Lionel upgraded it. So now, instead of it being 3 separate boards, one for the legacy, Bluetooth, and sound system, they have now combined it into one, making it to where the costs of the locomotives are cheaper because they only have to produce one type of board, and also it saves up space to then allow more features to be jammed back into here. So later on, I'll show you some of the steam locomotives will have a few new products than their predecessors. Now, another thing that they added, which they introduced in Volume 1, was the changing of the marker lights, meaning you can change it from, or bicolor illuminated classification lights, and that allows you to change it from green to white or to black or off. And Lionel in last catalog introduced it in their Vision Line products. Now, the way I took it was they were going to only have it for their Vision Line products because that was a new innovative idea that nobody has really went and looked into, unless you went ahead and modified a 2-rail brass locomotive, or if you're in HO or in G where you actually have enough space to do it. So it was innovative in the last catalog, but in this catalog, Lionel has now went above and beyond and has actually gone ahead and is now putting it in their legacy locomotives. So, if you want to have that feature, you can now actually get it in the legacy locomotives instead of having to go and spend over $2,000+ on a Vision Line product. So, let me go and flip the page, and voila. Here is as Lionel put it, their biggest steam locomotive that they have produced in this catalog, in which they are actually very correct. This is the Legacy S1 type steam locomotive from the Pennsylvania Railroad, and the wheel configuration is a 6446. Now, I may be able to get one of these locomotives, but I do not know yet because really my budget has only limited me to one locomotive to pre-order from this catalog. So we'll see. And I will say this is actually in one of my top 3 possible choices, and I'll talk about the other 2, and also is in the maybe list. But anyway, my thoughts on this locomotive. Well, I think it's actually pretty interesting. Now, about, what was it, 3 to 4 years ago, I remember Eric Siegel on through Eric's Trains did a review on the MTH model and how he loved it, but it was very large. In which, speaking of the length of it, let me pull it up over here. Looking right here, length 36¼ inches long. Holy moly! It is a beast. Now, to give a reference point, the Vision Line Big Boy is around 32 inches. So, yowza. And in order for Lionel to give it a 0.72 curve radius, that is incredible. So anyway, on the variations, Lionel gave a large selection, and that are actually historic, and also a bit of a what if you can see my cursor pointing to the Tuscan Red, which, don't get me wrong, is beautiful, but So starting at the top here is the American Railroads version, which is the version of 6100 being at the World's Fair in 1939 to 1940. Now, if I am able to review this locomotive, I'm just going to assume that I will be, and I'm not going to give a whole lot of history, but if you do want to get some history, you can go over to this side of the red bar, and Lionel gave an extensive history of this type of locomotive. Going down, here is the as-built version of it, which this is technically the version after the World's Fair when the locomotive was used for general service on the Pennsylvania Railroad. Now, something interesting that Lionel has added to this locomotive and upgraded is, well, legacy rail sounds, legacy command system, Bluetooth, so on and so forth, but detail-wise, they've made it to where you can change the little metal plate right here, and instead of it just being, say, the General, instead it can be the Trailblazer, which those were the 2 main passenger trains that were popular on the Pennsylvania Railroad, but also the 2 passenger trains the locomotive actually hauled. Moving on, here is what Lionel has dubbed the calendar design. Now, the calendar design on the side view looks like there's nothing really a difference compared to the as normal operation version. But the only difference that, Lionel really did was actually put the Keystone wing emblem, in which you can see it a little bit right here where my cursor is circling, but here's a better view. And that's really actually the locomotive that I'm thinking about getting and considering. And another thing that why I'm considering this locomotive and is in my top 3 position of considering is Lionel actually is putting the Vision Line pop-off safety valve effect. Now, the reason being is because the prototype did not have a steam whistle. Instead, it had an air horn, as you can see right here. Now, instead of going ahead and just having a horn in this model, Lionel was actually smart on this and went ahead and actually put the sound system for a steam whistle in it. Now, speaking of the horn and the whistle, as well as the bell, with the new legacy boards, you can now actually customize it to where the bell can have a lower, higher pitch sound to it, the horn can have lower, higher, and the whistle, and so on and so forth. But back to the whistle, since the locomotive or the prototype did not have a whistle, Lionel was not really able to go ahead and, well, put the smoking whistle effect or the steam whistle effect. So to combat that and to substitute that, they went ahead and put the safety valve effect. Now, speaking of the price, it's incredible. In my mind, it is just mind-blowing incredible, right at $1,600. Now, yes, it's a streamlined locomotive, so Lionel got away with that, but think about it. It's over 36 inches long. It's new, or it's redesigned tooling. It has modern Vision Line features in it, and it has a new legacy board. What a great deal. In my mind it is. But anyway, moving on, as always, Lionel is producing some passenger cars to go with the Tuscan Red What If paint scheme. And the prices are moderate. They are definitely showing the, how should I put it, the raising of prices, and I'm not going to be able to get any of these passenger cars, sad to say, because $750 for a 4-pack? Really, Lionel? Ouch. But anyway, they're beautiful. They're the normal 21-inch passenger cars in the Tuscan Red. Beautifully done on the catalog, but still, I'd really have to see them in person. Moving on, another set of legacy steam locomotives, and now these I'm actually pretty excited about. I'm excited about them because they are 10-wheelers, and 10-wheelers are 031 curve radius locomotives, and I know in most of my videos you see most of the trains going around my layout on 072 curves, but the reason being is because I have not extended it out to the second section, which is 036. So I'm very excited for these. Now, the last time Lionel actually did a 10-wheeler was back in 2014 in their Volume 2 catalog. They gave a good variety of standard railroads and a lot of black locomotives, and I was able to actually purchase a 10-wheeler, not back in 2014. Oh no, my wallet was very small, so to speak, back then, but I was able to find one pretty good condition, lightly used off of eBay, and that was actually my very first legacy locomotive, and I have loved it and cherished it since then. But the good news about these is, one, they've got the new legacy boards. Two, Lionel has produced a large variety of exotic and very popular road names. For example, Texas and Pacific. I think that is really one of the first times Lionel has actually went out there and has done a Texas and Pacific locomotive. And it also being in that prototypical greenish, kind of olive greenish paint scheme. And then also Lionel was able to fit whistle steam. Now that's a huge step up, because the 10-wheeler that I have from 2014 does not have whistle steam. Instead, it's just a normal stacked smoke unit and the legacy rail sounds and legacy command system with no Bluetooth. So really, this locomotive I'm excited about, and this is also on my top 3. More specifically, the Texas and Pacific, because if you can't tell from my accent, I'm actually from Texas. And also, it is just a very unique locomotive. As you can see here, the front of it, instead of having the headlamp right on the front of the smoke box door, instead they put it above on top of the smoke box, which is really nice. Now, speaking of the price, $750. That is actually a pretty good deal again, because thinking back at the 10-wheelers from 2014, they were right at $900, and you only got very minimal. So instead, now you've got Bluetooth, brand new boards, dual illuminating or bi-illuminating, classification lights, smoking whistle, and I could go on forever. So that's a very high if. Moving on, Lionel's also bringing back the USRA 2882s, or in some cases on the Norfolk and Western, the Y3s. Now, Lionel did produce these not too long ago. If I remember correctly, they were last produced around 2016, I believe, because the Y6Bs were also in the Volume 2 catalog from 2014. But anyway, back to the locomotives. Another huge roster of them. Now, I know 2882s are pretty general articulated right next to the 2662s, but it's nice to see Lionel going back to some general basic locomotives that they haven't done in a while, because and really we're kind of at that point of where Lionel's looking back, seeing what they haven't done in, say, about 5-10 years, and then pulling it back into production and putting the new stuff in it. So In this case, that's what they're doing. Now, they are issuing a whole, like I said, a whole lot of stuff. For example, Mr. Harry Hike, excuse me if I've pronounced your last name incorrectly, he's producing a weathered version. That's going to be interesting to see and see the end result. And then also they're producing some of the general names: Santa Fe, Baltimore and Ohio, NNW, of course. And looking at this NNW, it looks like it's got a bit of a difference. Instead of the air compressors being on the side, like over here, in which it looks like Lionel just copied and pasted. Instead, they mounted them onto the front of the smoke box. So that's an interesting difference to see. Now, Lionel, instead of just having 2 pages, they went ahead and did 4. So here's a whole lot more variations, such as the Clinchfield, Rio Grande, Northern Pacific, Virginian, Union Pacific, and Pennsylvania. Now, you may be wondering, are these a lot of what-ifs? Well, I would say it's kind of 50-50. The NNW is a huge given. The Santa Fe, yes, they did have a few 2882s. They also had a lot of 2880s, if I remember correctly, as well as the Union Pacific. But a lot of these are really from the road names are correct to who actually ran them. I know definitely the Rio Grande did have some. The Northern Pacific, maybe, but and speaking of that, that is a beautiful paint scheme. Oh, and also the Virginian is in the U.S. paint scheme, so that's nice. Moving on, more Mikados! Hooray! But except this time, they're more exotic road names, which is becoming more of a theme. Exotic road names and exotic locomotives. Interesting. So, more USRA light Mikados. Now, this is interesting to me, and again, I'm going back to my top 3. Southern 4501. So, kind of a flashback to about 2.5 years ago. I was actually fortunate enough to go on a trip into Tennessee, eastern Tennessee, and I was taken to Chattanooga, and I was able to see the 4501 herself. Now, I'm really leaning on the 4501 because the last time Lionel did a USRA Mikado with the Southern 501 paint scheme was back in 2012, and let me think, I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was about 7 years old when I was, so you get the picture. And this time it's also in the current paint scheme that the 4501 is in, and that's in the black, gold lettering, numbering, red windows, and white pinstriping, which to me is very pretty because it's, well, I'll get onto it if I purchase it. I'll definitely do a review on it if I get into it. Now, for the price, it's pretty reasonable. $1,300 is pretty reasonable. Not a crazy difference such as the 10-wheelers and the S1. Those were pretty great prices for them. But Lionel's giving a good variation of it. And something that I'm really interested in these locomotives is the curve radius. It's 30 inches long. Supposedly, if that's correct, that's 2 inches shy of a big boy. And 6 inches shy of that S1. So I'm curious to see if this was a typo or if this is actually correct. If it's correct, then I'm going to have some fun on my layout if I get this locomotive. But anyway, variations go from Atlantic Coastline, Grand Trunk Western, Georgia, Wabash, Southern, Frisco, Monon, and Lee and Hudson Valley River, or Hudson River, which, huge variety. Anyway, moving on. Now we're into the diesel locomotives. Similar stuff, not a crazy big difference. I guess the only real difference Lionel did into the locomotives was obviously the boards in them, but besides that, looking at the description, not a real whole lot. But anyway, E7s. Last catalog we have E8s, so now we're going backwards to the E7s. Now, the E7s the E series I really do like. I am primarily a steam locomotive fan, but once in a while I'll get that wanting of an E type unit. Reasons being they railroads made them in beautiful, beautiful paint schemes, such as the Atlantic Coastline or the UP in the city of Los Angeles, as you can see. And also because they were in the transition period of the late 40s, mid 50s. So, you know what I mean. But anyway, going on to locomotives, as you can see, looking over here, 34 inches in total length, 17 inches each. That's not bad. And also it being 036. That's pretty typical. Now, looking at the prices, they're actually pretty reasonable again. $1,000 for a double unit set, and then $450 for a B unit. Now, the B units are actually, looking over here, they are actually super bass. So the sound system has a deeper bass unit, or bass sound, has fan-driven smoke unit, directional rear electrocoupler, and it doesn't look like it's, it doesn't look like it's actually powered or not. That would have been nice. But looking at the locomotives themselves, going back over here, both units are powered. That's nice. So, okay, that makes sense why the B unit wouldn't be powered, the separately sold super bass unit. And to me, that's actually a pretty good deal. It's tempting, but really I have got a liking to steam locomotives, so we'll see. And also, I guess I better say this. Well, actually, I'll leave it to the end. But looking at it, it looks like Lionel is new vented pilots of City of New Orleans. So, let me see. Okay. Oh, yeah, now I see. Okay, so they've made a few specific changes to the locomotives. But anyway, continuing on, more E7s. This time, the two huge rivalries of the East, Pennsy and the New York Central. Now, starting with the Pennsy, like most of the times, Lionel does diesel locomotives for the Pennsy. They put the antennas on top of the roofs, which is actually pretty nice. Specific lighting and row number board arrangements. That's cool. And again, super bass B units. And looking on the Pennsylvania side, they did a Tuscan. It's Tuscan red, but they were able to do a solid stripe as well as a 5-stripe. So, bit of a mixture. And looking down at the New York Central, they've made two variations. They've done the black with lightning bolt stripe, and they've done the gray with the lightning bolt stripe. That's actually a locomotive that you don't see very often in that paint scheme. And then also looking over here, they've made super bass B units for them as well. And again, prices $450, $1,000. Moving on, and of course, no locomotive would be appropriate, or specifically a passenger locomotive wouldn't be appropriate without the matching passenger cars. So anyway, Southwestern Limited. You can probably pause the video and read the information if you want to. Passenger cars has the standard stuff, 042 curves to 054, which is the station diner features, which is this one, the silver one. And looking over here, it looks like Lionel's bringing back the Vision Line baggage car, which I do not own, but I've seen videos on, and it's actually pretty fun. Fun looking. Lionel has been getting more creative in their sound features on the subject of being creative and so forth. So another 4-pack, $750. Still Lionel, ouch. 2 packs, and also some RPO cars and baggage cars, depending on what you want. So a pretty good consist of, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 cars. That's a pretty good consist. But anyway, yet again, more E7s. So really kind of continuing on the series from the Volume 1 catalog in the GS, what were they, GS3s? Yeah, GS3s or GS2s in the Vision Line section. Lionel's producing E7s to match both the Southern Pacific Golden State set as well as the Lark set. And they're also adding a Rock Island Line set, which is a beautiful set looking at it. $1,000. And looking right here, see matching Golden State and Lark passenger cars on the next pages, which, again, Lionel always comes out with passenger cars to match their passenger locomotives. So, let's see them. Now, these passenger cars are actually reruns from the previous catalog, so nothing new here, just showing that they're still available and you can still pre-order them, which, beautiful cars, an interesting history. And then the Lark set, again, previous catalog, and still has the Vista Vision Dome, pretty cool car. Something different. So Lionel's also bringing back the genset switchers. Now, the genset switchers, it's kind of one of those. Should Lionel have done another reissue of them, or should they have left it with the Vision line stuff? Because if I remember correctly, what was it, 2010-ish? It was in there when Lionel first produced the genset switchers in the Vision line series, and they were very popular. Die-cast bodies, just wonderful overall. But then they went ahead and made a few variations in legacy form. Now, don't get me wrong, not a lot of people can go ahead and throw money into the wind on Vision line locomotives. So, yeah, there's two sides to every coin. But in this slot, they've produced a whole lot more, and even a graffiti locomotive, which you don't really see a lot, but is sadly true. Locomotives like this that are standing still primarily get tagged. And also, looking at the price, not a bad price. $625 is not very bad. But anyway, looking over here, minimum curve radius is oh wow, I've never seen that before. Depends, 042 or 054. That's interesting. Oh, here we go. Introduced in 2007. Okay, so I was close. But anyway, they're producing some interesting variations. They've got Bethlehem Steel, which was at the beginning of the catalog, CSX, BNSF, 2 UPs, 1 normal, and 1 graffitied locomotive, and then also a Pennsylvania Norfolk Southern. Now, I may also be able to get one of these locomotives, not in my top 3 or in my maybe list, but I may be able to get a hold one and review one of these in the next year or future. And looking at it, they are now include 2 motors in them. So that's nice. That's a nice upgrade. Moving on. GP7s. Who doesn't like a good Jeep? And again, more exotic paint schemes and railroads. Santa Fe, instead of it being in the war bonnet, is in the freight blue. That's actually nice to see. Main Central, Cotton Belt, and I haven't seen that paint scheme before, which faux daylight, I guess you can say, since the Cotton Belt was a part of the SP, Texas and Pacific. Haven't seen one of those in a while. Seaboard and Northern Pacific. Very nice. Very nice. And they're also 031, so anybody can run them on a layout. Moving on. Ta-da! Shark noses. Lionel's finally bringing back the shark nose. Now, one of the problems with the shark noses is that, well, the huge gap between both units. Now, looking at the art concept models, it looks like Lionel isn't going to do anything. But then again, Lionel uses, when they make their art samples are usually just the previous model. So, maybe they'll change something, maybe they won't. That would be interesting to see. But anyway, again, exotic colors. They're producing, oh goodness sakes, I haven't heard that road name before. E, J, and E. Whoa. Santa Fe and the War Bonnet paint scheme. Now, this locomotive is in my maybes list because, wow, that is just a beautiful, beautiful locomotive. Reminds me of the Alco PAs. Hopefully the performance is better than the Alco PAs. The Baldwin prototype models is interesting. Reminds me of the Canadian paint scheme. If anybody's watching this or from Canada, I'm not trying to show any offense. If I've offended you, I'm very sorry. And also they're producing some Super Base B units. So Lionel is stepping up to the ball on these Super Base units again. And then the price, $950. Not bad, not bad. And then Super Base, oh, depends. Let's see, what's the difference? Oh, looks like some of them are $430 and others are just $400. That is interesting. Moving on, whole lot more shark noses. Holy cow, that's another. Woo! I don't know what that name is, so sorry I can't pronounce this name. I'm guessing it's near the New York Central line, so I'm just not going to attempt it. Anyway, we got that road name, New York Central, five stripe Pennsylvania Tuscan red with the antennas again, green, Brunswick green with a single stripe, and interestingly, a U.S. Army version. Now, this is definitely a what-if paint scheme for obvious reasons, but it's actually pretty fun. Thinking about it, the name of the locomotive is Shark Nose, and why not put a shark mouth on the front and make it a U.S. Army version? So that's pretty cool. Now, I do not know if I'm going to be able to review one of these locomotives, but we'll see. And also, more Super Base B units to fit with the locomotives. Moving on, New York Central Explorer set. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a real big fan of it, really, because, one, they put the wrong locomotive. It's, what is it? Is it still a Shark Nose? Let me see. To me, it looks like a Shark Nose. It looks like another Shark Nose with the correct paint scheme behind some passenger cars. Now, it's a nice set, don't get me wrong. For those who are natural New York Central fans, this is definitely the set for you, because it's one of those experimental trains that New York Central tried but wasn't as successful, but still tried. And for $900, not bad. Not bad. You get a locomotive and 3 passenger cars, and then Lionel's also producing 2 add-on cars for $370. Not bad. Moving on. More sets. Now, again, these sets are the professional grade man sets, meaning they do not have a power source in them, nor do they have any track. So all you get is the locomotive and the cars behind it. Now, starting at the top, we got a P and LE set with what it looks like. Actually, both sets are pretty similar. Cabooses look the same, and the locomotives are the same as well. They're both GP7s. And looking at them between the two, I really like the Southern. The Southern, it looks a bit more appealing. And something that has been getting a lot of talk on the forum about the Southern version is the new freight cars on them. And also the top has some new freight cars, which I'll show you in a minute. And it's the grain roof hatch box car. Or what is it? Let me see. Southern box car with roof hatches. Yes, that one. And again, more passenger cars and passenger cars and sleeper cars. Looks like they're producing some more 2-packs, and these are the pool service sleeper cars. Now the prices on these are $189 for the baggage cars, and then $400 a piece for the 2-packs. So not bad. Now these are actually what I was really shocked about. Some more theater cars. Now the theater cars are, technically the first version of the miniature camera Wi-Fi devices that Lionel put in their passenger cars, and their cabooses. So these are the original versions. Now looking at them, again, more exotic but popular railroads. Starting over here, Santa Fe, Kansas City Southern, beautiful paint schemes. I really like the Santa Fe. And what's interesting about the Santa Fe, let me zoom in, it's a track inspection car. So that's interesting. Looking over here, Chicago and Northwestern, Southern Pacific. I may know somebody who's going to get that one. Norfolk and Western, and then BNSF. That's interesting. So if you got a if you want to build a modern era consist, here you go. And then at the price, reasonable, $340. That's not bad. I'm kind of iffy. Okay, so back to the set that I was talking about, and also the roof hatch box cars. Now Lionel's producing some PS5 covered gondolas, and also these new box cars. Now something that's been going around on the forum, I've noticed, the OGR forum, is people are kind of concerned that Lionel is not putting the right prototypical hatches on top. Well, that could be debatable because these are really meant to be representations or models that are as close to the prototype as possible, depending on what type of information that are available. So, if I've offended any rivet counters out there, I'm sorry if I have, but that's my personal opinion. I'm not a rivet counter. I just want it to be correct, operating, and have fun with this hobby, which that's really what it is. And then looking at the covered gondolas, they look pretty good as well. You've got a whole lot of more exotic road names, and for $90, that's not bad. I could get a traditional O-gauge boxcar for about $80-$60, so that's not bad. And then $95, that's not bad either, because considering that the boxcars are new tooling, that's not bad, because that's one of the major factors when it comes to new tooling. And then more covered hoppers and 100-ton hoppers. Man, how many can Lionel make? But then again, how many cold drags can you get on how many are there really? So 2-packs, $250, not bad. More general modern era road names. And then looking at the PS2 hoppers, ooh, pretty. Anna Arbor, please don't give me a headache about if I've pronounced that wrong. I am in the middle of nowhere for railroads, so. But anyway, price is not bad either, $90 again. So standard O cars, Lionel's producing some pretty good ones. And then cabooses. So looking at the cabooses, it looks like they're producing some to match the steam locomotives and some of the diesel locomotives if you were going to put freight behind them. Frisco, Chessie, Conrail, Louisville, and Nashville. That's one of those oddball railroads, kind of. Southern Pacific, and then New York Central. So those are nice. I wish they made a southern version, but you can't please them all. Now this is something new that I haven't seen Lionel do in either a long time or ever. It's been a while, and also Lionel's produced a lot of stuff between when I started and went into today. And they are these standard O flat cars with stakes or I-beams. Now these are interesting because to me they just look pretty cool. Something more exotic, something different, something to mix things up. And for the price, $50 is not bad. And going back to cabooses, oh, ouch. $110 for a caboose. Is it brass? No. Full height on small bay. Yeah. Oh, flashing. That's new. LED interior illumination and flashing rear end LED light. That's nice. Rotating bearing caps. That's nice. Yeah, not a lot of difference. But, oh well. Moving on. More standard O cars. I've noticed that Lionel's kind of really mixed things up and hasn't separated this catalog as well as the previous one, where like last time you had the legacy full scale stuff, and then you got into the steam diesels and so on and so forth. But this time it has kind of been mixed up. But anyway, you got some more box cars, some more cabooses, and different road names. Like, what is that? Ooh, I don't want to pronounce that one in fear that I'm going to get called upon in the comments. Chicago, Northwestern, New Haven. Hold on. So Lionel's stepping up again. And now we're getting into the O-gauge stuff, which I'm going to try to quickly pass through since I don't want to make this video over an hour long. But anyway, you can pause this. This is just a copy and paste of what Lionel is offering from the Lion Chief Plus to Lion Chief Plus 2.0. What's the differences? What each one can and can't do. But anyway, here is something that a lot of people have been wondering about, and it is the Lion Master AC-12 cab forward. Now, the cab forward is actually on my maybe list because it is really tempting. And also, I haven't actually pre-ordered a Lion Chief Plus 2.0 locomotive yet. And also, it is a huge, unique locomotive that can fit on 031. Like, how can you not pass up an articulated locomotive that can fit on 031? That's kind of hard to beat. And that's one of the innovative ideas that Lionel came out when they did the Line Master lineup around early 2000s to up to about, what was it, 2012 something, 2013, somewhere in there, until they discontinued it. So that's something nice that Lionel is doing. They're going back to their old tooling and producing some new stuff with new technology in it. And looking at the price, $1,300, a little bit more expensive, but then again, this is a locomotive that has a little bit more detailed than the Alleghenies that Lionel issued in the previous catalog, because those were the old K-line tooling, and also these look a whole lot better, in my opinion, compared to the MTH version. Sorry if I've also offended those who love MTH and love their Cap 4, but to me, the drivers look correct. There's not a lot of see-through gap. It just has a whole lot more detail. And also, for those who were wondering if the tooling is MTH or Lionel, no, it is original Lionel tooling. It is not MTH tooling from the Rail King line, which, again, Rail King did MTH went above and beyond by producing the Rail King lineup, but to me, Lionel went a whole step further by putting some more detail and more effort into it. Now, the prices are night and day compared to Lionel Line Master to MTH Rail King because of what Lionel's done and put into them, and that's been shown in the prices, but it's truly just night and day by technology, sound system, and detailing. It could be debatable, but that's how I'm coming from it. Then GP7s, good price, $375. More general exotic kind of names. And then they're producing another Lion Chief set, which in the last catalog Lionel brought out a whole lot more and a whole lot of reruns, but this is a genuine new set. They're producing a semi-scaled Berkshire Jr. with this set, and it's in the Lion Chief, not Lion Chief Plus 2.0, and the price, $400. Not bad. It's about the same price range as a Polar Express set, but that's not bad. Not bad at all. And then some personalized boxcars and some more another Angela Trotta boxcar, which I'm tempted to get, but I think I'm going to save it for another day. And also, they're producing some more anniversary or heritage boxcars, such as the 140th anniversary of the Canadian Pacific Railroad. Hats off to you, Canadian Pacific. And then a Kate Shelley heritage boxcar. Sorry, I did not know of her, but I bet you I'll definitely look into her. And it looks like on the side of the boxcar, Lionel put the history of it. So that's interesting. That is interesting. Moving on and try to keep on moving a little quicker. Now we're getting into the plug and play. Yeah. Lionel's going into, again, more exotic and different stuff. Not a lot of the traditional stuff that you would see. Such as a plumbing store, a mattress, furniture store. I'm not going to say their names because I know it's been going around on the forum a little bit odd. A fireworks store, Sergeant Stumpy's Red, White, and... I haven't read the title, so excuse me. Red, White, and Boom Fireworks. Oh, goodness sakes. And now if you see the price tag, $260, you may be thinking, has Lionel come off their rocker? Well, no. As you can see, it's got smokes and fireworks effect. So Lionel's going a little bit on the funny side of making it to where it's like the building is blowing up and has smoke. So Lionel's going and putting in some stuff. Tattoo parlor, not really interested. My layout's kind of really completed in building wise. I'm thinking about getting Menard's latest Cripple Creek building, though, and I will be producing a building or a product review on that. It should be coming out either maybe tomorrow if I could get to finish it up, or maybe even Friday. So stay tuned for that. Dominant Jeans, clothing store. Yeah, that's another funny play by words. And then a wing store with live music. Interesting. Now, I think now this is interesting. Not the fraternity home. I'm not really interested in because I'm just not interested in fraternity homes. But what I think is interesting is the garage kits, or the kits or pre-built. Now, you really don't get to see these on layouts, and you don't see a lot of modelers, or well, you do see a lot of scratch builders do this because they're able to build it. But you don't see a lot of manufacturers go ahead and build pre-built structures or kits, and such as this. I know from MTH's catalog they've produced outhouses, and I know from my dealer everybody's wanting to get them because they're just unique and something small to add to the layout. So I'm thinking about that, and for $50 that's not bad. Moving on. Oh, well, actually we're now getting into the end. And then the American Flyer. Now, I'm really going to skim through the American Flyer stuff because I like American Flyer, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not really into it. Baldwin switchers, kind of disappointed. This is interesting. I thought this was interesting. The U.S. Air Force Baldwin switcher set. Lionel's bringing back the classic rocket launcher car from the old American Flyer days. And also they're bringing out a Batman car. Gotta keep those Batman fans happy. And then I think these two pages are interesting as well. The depressed center flat cars with the spools, I like those. And then also the reefers, not the beer cars, but the reefers in general. I really like the Berkshire Ham and Bacon Company reefer. Technically it's a billboard reefer, and I like the colors on that. And then some gondolas with pipes. But anyway, looking on this page where my cursor is moving around, back to the cover. So this is something interesting that Lionel's now doing, and I think is actually pretty smart and fun. Lionel is actually going out there and is trying to connect with the buyers and hobbyists and families by having this. Show us your Lionel moment using at hashtag Lionel Moment on social media. So as you can see over here, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. In my case, YouTube. I may also, I don't have Facebook or Instagram, so it definitely have to be YouTube. And I really think this is a good idea. Because thinking about it, we're in a time, specifically in the U.S., we're in a time where there's a lot of division, both medically and socially, and it's just putting a toll. And one of the beauties of this hobby is that there's none of it. You can get away from it, sit back, relax, drink a cup of tea, whatever, and just build your own world. And the people inside the hobby, that's another whole ordeal. It's just a group of people that will try to take care of each other, learn from each other, and it's just wonderful. So I think this is a great idea that Lionel has. And here is the full photo from the cover. And nope, I was wrong. Drat, it's not a Pennsylvania turbine. It's another steam locomotive, maybe a Hudson. Whoops. But anyway, and then also to kind of wrap things up, the LCCA is celebrating 50 years. Hooray! Maybe another 50 years and they'll reach, or another 70 years, they'll reach 120. I don't know if the hobby will still be the same. And so Lionel's producing some neat stuff for the LCCA. Like they're producing a mint car, a 2-pack, a diesel locomotive, which is sharp, and that's the Lion Chief Plus 2.0 locomotive. And then I thought this was interesting. A Union Pacific unibody tank car with the 50th anniversary logo, but also the big boy. I think that's interesting, and that might be worth me signing up into the LCCA and just to get that. And then winding down to the back of the book, got some more LCCA news and stuff and why you should join. And then also, I think I'm going to really get this boxcar. It's, who knows, another 50 years later, it could be a whole lot more worth it. I may get 2 of these, keep one in the sealed in the box and the other one on put it on the layout, but I think it's beautiful. I drooled over it in the last catalog, and I'm still drooling over it this year, or this time around, so I don't know, I'm probably going to get that, and I may do a product review on it, but I don't know. And then also Lionel's bringing back the Lionel train table for $1,000, which is not bad to get started. And back to the general stuff, and then again showing all of the general stuff, and then at the end of the cover. So yeah, 2020, guys, Volume 2. I'm just kind of speechless, really, on the stuff that Lionel's producing the second go-around. Yeah, the first catalog is always very, I don't know what to say, very big and overwhelming a bit, because it's the newest wonder of the world, but I think this is another great catalog that Lionel's produced. And it's going to be a tough one, like always with me. It's going to be a tough one for me to decide. So really, I'm between the S1, the Southern 4501, and the Texas Pacific 10-wheeler. And considering the cab forward and the UP E8s, or E7s, sorry. But anyway, if you got any questions, you can contact me through the comments in YouTube, or you can also contact me through my email at traymaster2704@gmail.com. And also in the comments, put down your suggestions, or actually put down what you want to get from the catalog, and also what you think you want me to actually review from the catalog. If there's something you really want me to do, just put it out there. I'll take a vote or take a poll, and maybe I'll pre-order it. Maybe I'll get it down on the line. We'll see. But also, if you'd be so kind, also please click on the subscription button. This would actually also allow you to no longer miss any of my future videos, such as another catalog walkthrough, any product reviews, or just talking plain trains. And also, if you could also press the like button, that would be nice as well, because then this also lets me know that you enjoyed this video, and also lets YouTube know that my channel is actually worth something, and this video is not a piece of garbage. But anyway, my name is Traymaster04, and thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll be seeing you next time.